Live from the City of Angels here on this Sunday morning, breaking box office slow weekend. I mean, listen, we're just past Halloween. We're entering into the Christmas stretch, right? And we're going to wait for these big films to drop, such as Wicked, Gladiator 2, Moana 2. Those films are really going to push this thing so much higher. Right now, we're sitting on the second weekend of Venom 3, which ended up down 49% this weekend. That's better than a lot of people expected. But remember, this film opened so much lower than the first and second films. Let's pay attention to number 2, opened at 90 million. So when the third installment opened so much lower, right, the number was significantly, maybe not 50, but it was like 40+% lower than number 2. That means that your second weekend should be better because a hell of a lot fewer people went to see it the opening weekend. Does that make sense? See, a lot of times when we talk about box office, people don't know how to spin this stuff. They go, well, it's a good hold. Yeah, it's a good hold because the first weekend was low. So it makes sense that the second weekend should be better because you have a situation where fewer people saw it opening weekend and there's not much else to see. So that's why you see this thing down 49% with 26.1 million. But again, the number one film only at 26.1 million. That's not a great number. Okay. So I think when you look at these numbers here as we present them and talk about some of the smaller films, I'm excited about because we're seeing some signs of life. And we'll tell you why that is in a second. But the one thing that you notice is that right now, we really just need that big film in the marketplace, and that's going to be The Wicked, The Gladiator 2, and the Moana 3, as we mentioned, because we get all these sequels here. I'm like 2, 3, 4. So just give me a second. If I get one of them wrong and I say Gladiator 17, then just let it go, okay? But when you look at this, it's just expected to see this. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you is I look at the international numbers here for Venom 3. It's stronger overseas. It's 2x plus overseas. Now, remember, we talk about what you really want is you really want a 1-to-1. Really, I mean, you can get a 1-to-2 domestic to international. That's great. In this case, it's definitely a 1-to-2. We're at 90 million stateside, and we're over 200 million overseas. 227 for a total of 317.1 million on Venom 3 on the worldwide box office. So that is encouraging. And I think what you notice here is China is the big player. I mean, look here, $70.6 million in China alone. 2 was not released in China. And I think a lot of people forget that, right? Remember, that was COVID. That was all that stuff going on. So movie theaters were a wreck, and we didn't know where these things were going to play. But once you remove a market as big as a China from 2 and you put it in 3, that explains why we have this surge on 3 overseas, right? See, this is why we're better than everybody else. Do you think Grace Randolph can do this shit with her stupid ass movie math? Good Lord. Why do you guys watch her? She's so dumb. Her reviews are terrible. Sorry, I had to, I'm just cruising along here doing my thing, and I had to hammer Grace Randolph because there's any chance we get it, there's an opportunity to lay the boom on someone who tries to do this and is not good at it. We're going to take advantage of that. Of course we are. Here's what's interesting, too, about number 2 film this weekend. Wild Robot was up 11%. And this shows you that if you leave a film in the marketplace and allow it to just be exclusive, now it is digital, but remember the digital purchase on this is $20+. So that's still a little prohibitive. Once we start getting into that $4.99 range, then you're going to see it die. But there's nothing else for families to see. And families still like to go to the movies. It's a tradition, right? Even though the Gen Zers don't go as much as the Gen Xers did for sure, you still have families looking for something to do on a Saturday. The weather's starting to turn, right? It's not as nice outside. Here in LA, it's still beautiful because it's LA. But for a lot of you, you're noticing that the weather is getting worse, obviously, as we roll into the further regions of fall and into winter. So you'll see that these family films do well. So Wicked is going to just slay because obviously it's a known IP from the Broadway show. You've got Grande in that, bringing in the younger audience. You've got families. It's totally family friendly. That film's going to do really well. I'm already tired of talking about Wicked and I haven't seen it. I mean, literally, are you guys kidding me? How many times have I seen the trailer? How many times have to sit through now the AMC silence your phone thing that's involving Wicked? So now that's the thing, right? You used to do just the regular turn your cell phone off. Now we have studios coming in and paying for the right to say, hey, turn your fucking phone off, right? Go back to Deadpool Wolverine. Disney did that for that film. Remember Jackman and Ryan Reynolds talking about turn your phone off, that whole thing. Now we've got Wicked. So that's another way to make cash for AMC, for Regal, for the studio, for the exhibitors. And that's smart, right? And the studios get something out of it because it puts another view of your upcoming film in front of people's faces. But Wild Robot has done very well. The number on this film is, let me see what I have the total on the worldwide. Stateside alone, it's at 121. It's over 200 million on the worldwide. Now, that's not as big as, listen, we're talking about Wild Robot at 200 plus million. That's solid, but it's not like Despicable Me 3, 4, 7, right? Because that film has been around so long and people still love the Minions, even though it looks like they've run their course. Here comes another, and it still does 800 plus million worldwide. I believe that's the latest number on the last one. I kind of stopped paying attention at some point. I'm just over it. Aren't you guys over some of these sequels? Speaking of sequels, Smile 2, 6.8 million, down 29%. Beneficiary of nothing else in the market, and it is a horror film along with Terrifier. Now it's 63 million worldwide for Terrifier 3, which is a huge profit, obviously at $2 million to make that film. You wonder why we're getting Terrifier 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Terrifier X, where he's in outer space. That's coming. But Smile 2 is not going to be as successful as the first Smile. First Smile over 200 million worldwide. This film's over 100 right now. There's no way this gets past 200. So it's a disappointment. You know, listen, I don't think the film's as good as the first. I think it's a slightly bigger scope. I think some of you think it's a huge scope. It's a slightly bigger scoped film. I think it tricks you into thinking it's bigger than it is. If you really watch that film, it's not, from a budgetary standpoint, that much bigger. Now, granted, yes, of course it is, because the first one made 200 million. You're going to give him more money. You're going to give Parker Finn more money. But you know what I'm saying. You can see that I think that this film works well with the budget it has to make it feel bigger than it is. But that's a side note. The point is this film's not going to do as well. That's a little concerning. What is not concerning, what is gives you a lot of optimism here on this Sunday morning, is Conclave. Now, let me tell you why Conclave is important. It is now, I don't think the film's great. I gave it a C. I think it has a lot of weaknesses going for it. It's not exactly the most thrilling movie, right? A lot of you say you fell asleep during it, and I don't blame you. I mean, I almost did myself. There's a lot of portions of that film have dead space. That films need to be tightened up. We talk about it all the time. Films need to be tightened. Okay, I want that thing at 140. Okay, sooner or later, a studio's going to hire me, and they're going to let me come in and say, this film's now going to come in at 145, not 225, everything everywhere. And you're going to cut off that repetition. Goodbye, it's gone. Daniels, it's gone. There's not a discussion here. It's out. Now, make it happen and get the hell out of here. But when you look at Conclave, what's encouraging about this film is only down 20%, and it's doing solid numbers. I mean, listen, this is a film, when we watch these small films come to the marketplace, like a Saturday Night, didn't do well. You look at even We Live in Time, the latest A24 Pew and Garfield film. That film's not doing that well. Don't listen to Mendelsohn. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He said it's a mainstream hit. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's what I'm saying, man. You guys need to pick and choose who you listen to. Why are you listening to some of these people? It's like insane to say We Live in Time's a mainstream hit. What are you talking about? It's not even in the top 5 this week. And when it was in the top 5, it was making like $1,600 per screen. That's not good, man. But Conclave, even though the PTA, and we'll look at it here in a minute, per theater average, is not stellar. What's important here is that this is an older skewing awards film. And we've seen these films come in the marketplace and suffer because they put these things on streaming in days, in weeks. And that's the problem. We need to install theatrical windows again. If we do not install these windows, we are going to lose that segment of the theatrical exhibition. The smaller films are never going to make it if you do not protect them with at least a 60-day window. I don't even want 30. I think I'll take 45, but I'm not going to start with that. I'm going to start with 60. I'll pretend I'm not going to 45, and then I'll go to 45. That is a month and a half. It's half the old window of 90. That's fair to everybody. It'll protect these films. At Conclave is impressive at 5.3, down 20%. Now, here's the thing. As I tell you, Conclave at 5.3 is good. Here at 5 million is, I would argue, a bomb, right? You've got Tom Hanks, and I know there's a big discussion. I sent out a tweet today saying Tom Hanks is not a movie star. His allure is not there. He doesn't draw people anymore. And then the whole debate about, are there movie stars anymore? I would argue, yes, that's true, right? It's more about IP these days. People just run out to see Hanks. Even Cruise, you've seen some cracks, as we saw with Mission Impossible, the last installment, even though it's a very strong film. It didn't do as well worldwide. It got a bad date, bad scheduling on that film. But I will absolutely accept the fact that movie stars don't carry the same weight they used to carry. But here, not a good film. We're going to talk about that tonight. I've got 3 MMT evaluations tonight. I've got Juror 2, and I've also got I keep saying diary. It's memoir. Either way, of a snail. That's coming up. Of those 3, there's one I like a lot, and there's 2 I really don't. And we'll talk about that tonight. But when we look at here, it is not a strong number. Okay. It's not this film's bad, guys. Wow. I mean, this is something else. We're going to talk about it tonight. I can't wait because it's going to be a savaging of Robert Zemeckis. Has he ever are we sure he made good films? Because after watching this is what's happened. I'll talk about it tonight more in depth. As we get ready to do the top 10, I'll talk about Juror number 2 because I do have some overseas numbers for that. Here's what I'm going to tell you is that we have seen a ton of directors who are aging go to hell with their last film or one of their last films. And look no further than Coppola. Guys, Megalopolis is truly one of the worst films ever made. It's not even a contest. Anyone like our Pulitzer Prize winning Justin Chang, oh my God, they need to rescind the trophy. I've told you that before. We need to do that. I got to do it again on the stream. It needs to be taken away. When you have someone who's won a Pulitzer telling you to go see Megalopolis and he's seen it more than once, I don't know how to tell you that is the biggest fraud of an award of a trophy when someone after winning said trophy comes out and says Megalopolis is a must-see. You don't even know how fuck that is. You can't comprehend unless you've seen Megalopolis. We have so many frauds in the space, whether they have a Pulitzer or not, they're frauds. Okay. And the reality is we are always right. Tonight, we're going to talk about Joker 2. I was dead on again. We're seeing these really smart evaluators, authors, and bright, brilliant IQ people saying this film's great. Again, Weber's on the right side of history. You ask me, does it get old? Hell no. It's fun. I laugh because every time that I say X and it comes around, everyone's saying Y, comes back to X, and they go, who was saying that? That's right. Weber was saying Honora's shit. Wasn't he? He was. Well, now look, everyone's saying that. We'll talk about Honora in a second. But when you look at this film, I mean, this is an absolute disaster I think Hanks is done, right? I mean, last time we had him, we had A Man Called Otto, which actually did okay numbers. I think that was propped up by the fact people hadn't been to movie theaters in a while. Remember that whole reintroduction of movie going after COVID when they told us we can't go, we're going to kill everybody. If you go, your grandma's going to die and your great someone, your best friend's friend will die if you go to the movies. That's what we were told. So once that ended, everyone went back to the movies and was like, this is cool again. And it was kind of this new feeling, right? And that really pushed some of these films higher. Now we have gotten over that and it's gone. And now we have to exist in the world of, you still need to make good films. I think, someone came in and said the other day, well, why are these films not doing well? Because a lot of them aren't great. I mean, if you give people bad product, how can you not expect them to not come or even compelling? I mean, Venom's not a good film. This has been I think it's one of the worst years ever, maybe the single worst in the 2000s. You go across the board. And by the way, can I just say this tonight? I'll talk about it. If you're using Honora to prop up your 2024 is not the worst year ever, you're using that to prop up your argument, then your argument's lost. I mean, it's the fact that you consider Honora A great film tells you that 2024 will go down as one of the worst years ever for cinema. And I'm on the right side of history. I had been forever. It's just the way we operate here. It's always in the right. We're the gold standard MMT. Let's do the rest of the top 10 here. I'll bring up the numbers from the entire weekend. Let's quickly roll through this, and I'll be back tonight with those evaluations. Should be a fun night tonight because I always enjoy doing the Sunday night show because it's kind of a free for all. Although tonight we have 3 evaluations, which is like a lot. No one else does 3 evaluations in one show live. No, they have a teleprompter, right? We also what happened to Cardi B when her teleprompter went out the other day. She's like, oh. Can you imagine if I had to operate off a teleprompter? This show wouldn't even run. We don't have one. We're not Grace Randolph. We're not Cardi B. We're reading this shit and we're inputting it and we're spitting it back out right to you. Here we go. Venom Last Dance #1, as we mentioned, at 26.1 million, down 49%, 6,300 per on the location average. Wild Robot #2. With now $121 million stateside alone, 200 million plus overseas included. Smile 2 is now over 100 million. That is worldwide, 52 million here stateside. It will not get to the Smile 1 numbers. That means it's a disappointment. Don't let them spin it any other way. Conclave #4. It's at about 2,900, almost 3,000 per screen. That's pretty solid again for a small adult skewing. No kids are going to see Conclave. What? I mean, no, down 20%. Again, got to protect these films with windows. Here, only 1,800 per location because it was on 2,600 screens. Conclave at 1,800 screens. That's why you get, even though the numbers are the same, pretty much 535, you're talking about the locations making one film more successful than the other because it's at fewer locations. We live in time. Remember, I'm being told by people such as Scott Mendelson, this is a mainstream hit, 1,100 per location. It's terrible, guys. It's not good. Okay, down 28%. Can I just let you know, you're discussing films. You're going to get all of these people that don't know what they're talking about and they spin shit. They're going to tell you that We Live in Time was down 28%. Isn't that great? When you're already down at the numbers We Live in Time is putting up, then 28% is expected. Do you guys understand that? Why do I have to come in here as the voice of reason? Do I need to branch out into every single area of every topic to come in and bring truth? Because we have so many people out there who spin a bunch of shit. Down 28%. It's already low. So it should be down 28%. Do you understand why the drops are high when a film comes out first weekend to second weekend? Because it killed in the first weekend. So of course it's going to drop because so many people saw it. We Live in Time is already down. So of course it's going to be low on the drops. God almighty, man. These people are not even serious. Or they don't understand or they're fucking lying. I don't have time for these people, man. Why do you listen to these people that spin shit? We don't have an agenda here. Our agenda is to tell the truth all the time. And certainly it's my opinion, but our opinion is right. So that makes us the kings. We're the gold standard. #9, Beetlejuice. I forgot Sing 'Em Again. It's #8. That's the, I apologize. I don't partake in the Indian film as much as a lot of you do. And I like a lot. I go back and obviously RRR is the one that stands out. But there's also the other one I saw with the shaved head. I like that one. I'm already forgetting the name. That film was actually strong. I kind of like that maybe more than RRR. But there's so many films out. It's hard for me to get to everything. Guys, I have to choose some things and I have to sit through here. I did want to mention Juror #2. Sorry, let's pull it up before I leave. I'll talk about some of this again tonight, just shortly, just briefly. It won't be the entire stream because I got so many other things to talk about. Juror 2, overseas, Warner Brothers reported the numbers. Here in the States, they did not. 50 screens. I saw it on Friday night. It's not a great film. Okay, not a great film. And then I get on Twitter and all these people who don't know what they're talking about. Why did they bury this? Warner Brothers was smart to bury this. It's not great. It's a bad version of Presumed Innocent. That's a much better film. Same kind of feel, 90s feeling courtroom drama, not exceptionally directed, very generic, right? You can see how Eastwood just comes in and says, shoot, 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 shoot. He moves at light speed. I guess you know that's the reputation. If you do an Eastwood film, one of the reasons you want to do it is because you're going to be done in like a week. We're done? I thought it was a 2-month shoot. No, we're done. We did it in 7 days. He moves. He's like, I don't care if that shot's a little off. Let's just use it. He's like, he's not Fincher. Again and again, And again, the only scene in Babylon's any good. And again, ring bell. And again, only scene. The only scene along with the Brad Pitt, but it doesn't even fit the film, right? Because the tonal disaster that film is. You've got all this goofy shit going on. And then you have, oh, by the way, here's Brad Pitt being told he's done in Hollywood by Gene Smart. And then he's going to go blow his brains out. I'm telling you, Damien Chazelle was doing cocaine during that film. There's no question. Because there's no way that film could be that erratically, tonally disastrous without someone doing some serious drugs while they shot the film. So I don't think Eastwood was doing any drugs when he shot Juror number 2, but he probably should have. It might have been a better film. We need to up Eastwood's crack factor and lower Chazelle's. France, Spain, and the UK came in with $5 million, it says here. All right, that is pretty much it. I got a ton of comments. Listen, can I just tell you, it's not great. We'll talk about that film tonight, Jody. It's not a great film. It's not a great film. Tonight's stream will be about 8:05 here in LA. I'm going with the old TBS times. You guys, for those of you who are old school, TBS would always start at 5 after the hour. That's what we're doing here tonight. We'll talk about those evaluations. Juror number 2, including here, and also Memoir of a Snail. I finally got one right. If you left a comment, I'll look at it after. I'm off to the beach to play volleyball. That's what I do on Sundays. I'm going down. Wish me luck today. I'll see you tonight back on the MMT Sunday Evening Spectacular. Until then, peace out. See you tonight live from LA. The stream is over.